So remind me how to say Kotei. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. Are you gonna you're gonna edit?
Yes.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
mean, not like huge editing, but I'll edit anything
Yeah,
that's
no.
crazy.
I like to normally when I do it, like I do a clean cut,
Uh-huh.
so I don't have to edit this part out. But yeah, it's Jackie Cote.
Okay. And then do you have what's the name of your business?
You can just say I'm a publicity and media strategist.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well, you're ready to get started?
I am.
Okay. Hello, ladies. Welcome to another episode of our virtual happy hour retreat series. You're rocking your biz, but it's burning you out. I'm here today with Jackie Kotei, media and PR strategist. Welcome, Jackie. Thanks for being here.
Hey, how is everyone?
I love that painting behind you. Is it a painting? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's actually a canvas and it's a butterfly. So I love butterflies. I feel like it, and it's interesting. I think I was sharing with you that before I actually stopped running away from what I was great at, which is publicity and media, I had this like stint where I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to be a life coach and help people live their dreams and thrive. And so my business back then was called My Butterfly Bliss because I was like, I love butterflies. I love bliss. Like, it just was what inspired me at the time. So that's a painting of a butterfly, and I have butterflies in lots of other places in my home.
Oh, I have a butterfly that I finger painted, actually. I love it. Cool. Now, is that just something that you purchased or did you create it?
No, I purchased it. So this is kind of my office. It's like my transitional office. And I know you can relate, like working out of your home. But I think sometimes when you have a vision to start a business and for all those people that are burnt out, you have to be in a space that really inspires you.
Yeah.
And for me, that used to be in my bedroom, like in the corner. That was like year 1 and 2 of my business. And, in year 3, I was like, you know what, let me move down. So I'm in the basement. I have a canvas up. I have inspirational things surrounding me and a window that I can see outside and just really look at the nature, and it just helps kind of fuel me when I'm working on my business.
That's lovely. So tell me a little bit about how you went from the butterfly bliss and you said you were sort of ignoring or not paying attention to what you're really great at. How did you determine your greatness? And then how did you finally say, okay, I give up. I'm in it.
Yeah, well, I think I was telling you, like, I love this whole summit that you're doing because I think that was kind of where I came from. So just kind of rewind 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I actually was a television reporter and a journalist, and I worked at network places as well as like local news. And I went from working behind scenes to working on air. And at the time, that was my dream. Like, I was like, I just want to be on air. And it
Uh-huh.
was one of those things, the way people sometimes feel about media, even being featured on a TV show, they're like, that can't happen. And for me, that was like the message that I got early on was like, oh, like, news directors get 100 news tapes a day. Like, there's no way you're going to get your foot in the door. Add on the fact that I had natural hair and I was African American, and it was one of those things that it was like the chances are literally nil. And so for many years I tried, I finally got on air, and it was my vision, but it was stressful. It burnt me out. I was covering doom and gloom, murder, suicides, deaths, and just tragedy. And so I spent 2 years doing that, and then one day I was like, it was time for me to renew my contract with them, and I was like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, it was this piece of me that was growing, that wanted to be able to enjoy life. I don't know if anyone's ever read Eat, Pray, Love, but at the time that book had come out, and Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, and I was like, I just want to be like in the groove. And so I resigned. I started my own company, but the company failed because I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to charge people. I was like, I just love doing this work. I love media consulting. I love helping people on video. Like, I don't even know how to charge people. So while I was doing what I loved, I wasn't getting paid in a way that I could really live a life that I loved. And so I went back to work, and in working again, I was working as a spokeswoman for an agency. So I was basically doing their media coverage. I was the face of them. So I would put, different segments on the news about the agency and so forth, was when I got the calling again to really be able to go back and do something bigger than that in the world. And so when I first got the calling, I was like, no, it can't be TV. Like, it can't be media. Like, I do that full time. Like, that's not cool. That's not going to get me traveling the world. Like, you know, eat, pray, love. Like, I didn't think it was going to be the television piece. And so I started really just like I started a blog, and I'm sure some people who are watching this can relate. I started a blog and I let it sit for an entire year because I didn't want to touch it and mess it up. I was like, I have no clue what to say. Like, I was like, who's going to even care about what I have to say? And so that blog was dedicated to travel, dance, and yoga at the time. So I'm like, those are the three things that I love, like travel, dance, and yoga. And so I let it sit for a year. And then finally I started to really catch more of a vision around being this life coach, like helping people live their dreams and thrive was what I felt like I could help people do. And throughout that time, that was now 3.5 years ago, I went from that to doing marketing. I was like, okay, well, how do I help people live their dreams and thrive? I was like, okay, marketing, like I can help them with visibility and things like that. And then finally last year, and I should say that while I was going through that transition, I still had people that would find me at events, people that would come up to me at different times, and they would say, that's great that you're doing that, but can you answer this question for me about TV? Or can you answer this question for me about this interview that I'm going to do? Or can you help me get featured? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I was giving it away for free because I was like, that is not my path. And it wasn't until last year, and I was meeting with my mentor, and I recommend that everyone that really wants to build a business and a life that really aligns with them, to have accountability and have a mentor. Mm-hmm. But I was meeting with my mentor, and she was like, you can do it in a way that's authentic to you, that's not stressed out, that's not crazy, that's not doom and gloom. And so that was when I started to reform and reshape my vision. And now, you know, I help entrepreneurs get featured in the media, but I do it in a way that really aligns with me. Like, I take on entrepreneurs that really want to make a difference in the world, and I help them do publicity that I kind of consider myself, Tiffany, like a disruptor in the space. Like, I'm not a traditional PR firm in that I really believe in helping people be empowered about their publicity efforts. And I believe that every entrepreneur should do it as a part of how they do business. I don't think it should just be when you have a launch of something, or if you're like, oh, I got inspired. Like, I think that being able to do publicity consistently in your business is really what gets the word out, and really what helps you really reach new audiences. And that should be something that you do day in and day out. So that's a little bit about how I got here, and, you know, what are the interesting like paths I've taken. And I find that it's a big question that a lot of entrepreneurs have is, what is it that they're brilliant at, and how can they do it in a way that aligns with them? And I think sometimes, throughout life, like, you go through these different chapters of your life, and you're like, how do I sum it all up for where I am right now? And so, you know, having gone through that, I tend to really be great at helping people navigate that and really get their message honed, so that as they're doing publicity, it really resonates with them and it's really authentic for what it is they do.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know anybody who's doing what you do. So, I mean, there's ways to create money when everybody's doing the same thing. So I imagine that there's even a larger opportunity for you because there's not as many people doing it, at least not for the little guy, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah, and I find that for me, it's about really helping people, like really helping change the narrative in the media. So I have 2 little kids. One is a girl who's about 16 months now, and a boy that's 3. And I want them to be able to watch television and be inspired. Like, I don't want to have to turn off the news because of the stories that are being featured. I want them to turn on the news and see people like you, and see people that are change makers in this world, that are passionate about what they're doing and that really want to make a difference. And so that's really why I do things the way I do them, and why I really am, you know, so passionate about this.
I love that. Yeah, there's such a slant on the doom and gloom, the sensation. like, why can't we just talk about the good things? That's news noteworthy too, right? So
It is.
do you see yourself creating your own, I don't know, network of some sort, whether that be online or otherwise?
Yeah, I don't actually. I really believe in, and this is kind of like one of my core beliefs. And I believe that like you, like me, like the people that are watching, we are like the light. And in order to really make a difference in the world, I feel like you have to shine that light in the dark places. And the dark places are the places where the doom and gloom is happening. It's one of the reasons why believe publicity is one of the most effective ways to grow your business, is because when you're talking about like your email list or your social media presence, you're really talking to the same people. Like I kind of feel like that's preaching to the choir about why they should, hire you, or why they should see you, or why they should come to your event. Whereas when you go out and you get interviewed by the media, those are audiences that may have never heard of you, that may never even know that you exist. And I feel like those are new audiences that you can be in front of. And just to give you a little bit of like stats, CNN gets 24 million viewers just on their morning show.
Wow.
So think about like all the other networks, you think about industry publications that cover just health and wellness, or publications that cover spirituality, or cover women's issues, or cover entrepreneurs. Like they all have built audiences. And so when you think about national news, local news, industry publications, regional news, there's so many different opportunities. And that's why I say I believe entrepreneurs should really make it part of how they do business, is just to, challenge yourself to get featured somewhere once a month, like, and in front of a new audience that gets to hear your message, that gets to hear what it is that you're passionate about, what it is that you're up to. And you'll really see not just your influence grow, but the change that you can have on the world really grow.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think it can even probably be helpful if somebody's trying to discover their audience, right? When you're starting out, you think like, okay, I have an idea who I want to work with or who I think needs my help, but I don't know exactly how to find them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great way to think about it, is like, I often recommend that people actually go through and think about like, what is it that sometimes your audience is who you were 10 years ago.
Uh-huh.
So one of the reasons why I know I can help people build, a strong business or build their publicity efforts is because 10 years ago, I know right now, and people are like, you sound so eloquent, you're so comfortable on video. And, but 10 years ago, I didn't have the confidence I had now. My dad told me that my teeth were buck teeth. And he's like, you're a beautiful girl. Like, this is 17 years old with my dad. He's like, you're beautiful, but you shouldn't smile because your teeth are buck teeth and like, it's not cute. And so I went into like the early 20s, not with confidence. I had a journalism professor tell me that my natural hair, that my locks, like I needed to get rid of them because there was no way. This was a CBS network professor of mine who's a woman of color tell me, there's no way you're going to get on air with dreadlocks. Like there's no way. And so I like got rid of them to be able to conform. So when I think about where I was even 15 years ago, that is my ideal client. Sometimes they're afraid of doing video because of whatever insecurities. Sometimes they don't get the impact that they can make, or they don't know how to do it in an authentic way. One of the women I work with, she's a professor, and one of her biggest fears was like, how is my how are my colleagues going to perceive me if I
Right.
now want to go out and I have this vision to impact women, in a way that's different than academic world. And so I often work with people who are, navigating the transition, or that have challenges around being seen or doing video and things like that, because that was me 10 years ago. So I share that with people watching, that if you do have a question about who to work with or who your ideal audience is, that's a good way to do it, is just think about who you were 10 or 15 years ago, and what are the challenges you've had to overcome, and how does that fit with your area of expertise. So, thinking about what you're an expert in, what are the challenges you had to overcome, that's a good way to start if you have challenges around who your ideal client is. And then you're right, like actually getting featured in places and figuring out how well did that interview do for you. So, if you sometimes getting featured on Super Soul Sunday is not going to be great for everyone. Like it's not the best thing for everyone. It might be that you get featured on a television show that really has your audience and that gives you more of a response than a Super Soul Sunday. So that's really important to take into account.
Cool. Can you maybe walk me through a little bit of your process in terms of when you're helping somebody get started to get that media attention?
Yeah, so one of the things that I always say is really think about like what your wish list of publications are. And it helps sometimes if you do think about what your message is and where those people are. So if you're in fitness or health, I have someone now who is a health expert and she's a lifestyle, she works with women. So if you think about like where those women are, like what publications are they reading, what news outlets are they watching? And if you don't know, ask people that fit your ideal client base or that you have worked with. So if you don't, like you might see someone on social media and you're like, I really could help them. That's a good person just to reach out to and say, I would love to work with clients that fit your background or that are similar to you. Do you read any publications or watch any podcasts or watch any radio or watch, I said watch podcasts, but you
I
get
got
my drift? Yeah.
it.
And then, ask them, and those are places that you want to start to get featured in, because if one of your ideal clients are paying attention to them, chances are they have a makeup of an audience that's similar to your ideal clients. And then you could, I sometimes people say like start from the bottom and work your way up. I actually think that you want to think about how can you provide value to that publication. So in the free gift that I'm giving out, Get on National TV Now, and I actually walk you through like a sample email that you can send that really is value based, but you want to think about how can you provide value. So that might be that it's the time of the year, right now when you think about what news agencies are looking at, with holidays or whatever it is, how can you provide something of value to educate their audience or to inspire their audience or to really give their audience some knowledge that they may not know based on your expertise. And that's really what you want to pitch. And then you want to make sure that you follow up. Like most times news agencies are very, 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 very busy. So in any given day, I remember when I was a TV reporter, I had to do 2 stories a day. And that was without fail. That was on Christmas Eve. That was if there was a snowmageddon. I mean, it was if it was an election cycle. And so it wasn't that I wasn't trying to respond to people. It was like I was trying to put out the first fire first. And
Right.
so you want to make sure that you follow up. Like typically, and I go through this in the free gift, but you want to send the initial email and then you want to follow up 3 days later. And then sometimes you have to follow up again by phone or something like that. Sometimes it's not even that they're ignoring you. It might be that they're working on a different beat and you have the wrong person. So you want to really just be great at the follow up and just really get to know the news agency itself. Like before you even pitch, take a look at what they cover. Most news agencies have segments that are ready made already, meaning that they may feature the entrepreneur in their local community once a month. And
Okay.
so that's a beautiful segment for you to say, hey, I see that you feature a business owner once a month. I'm a business owner, I'm local, and so that's an easy win for you. So that might be a great place to start. And then finally, a lot of people these days talk about HARO, which is called helpareporterout.com. That's a place that you can go and just get a free account, and journalists post on there what are stories that they're working on that are coming up. And you can actually go and say, hey, I saw you're looking for people to interview who are moms that are, within this age range. That's me. Like, I'm happy to, and that's another great way to really just go and serve and provide value.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I've never heard of that site. And it's like they're already asking. You're not saying pick me. You're saying I have a solution for you, right?
And that's the mindset. Like, I love that that's your, like, that you caught that. Like, that's the mindset that you want to have, is how can I provide value? How can I really serve? And I think if you go with that intention, that's going to really create great results for you.
Awesome. Now, when women, in terms of the things you help them with, or maybe you see them struggle with the overwhelm, I guess, how does that come across in the line of work that you do? And I know follow-up is something that women struggle with, or not just women, but people struggle with, right? Because it's like, oh, I've tried all these things. Yeah, but you tried them all once, right?
Yeah. And so the thing that I feel like has been kind of a footnote, or maybe not even the footnote, like the main character in my journey over the past 3.5 years, is building a business while giving birth, either being pregnant, giving birth, breastfeeding, postpartum. I mean, I have 2 kids under the age of 3. Like, so that's been like very parallel with how I've had to build business. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like being able to really master how to grow your business virtually is a huge asset in any business model, because up to this point, my kids, like, I've had to build my business 95% virtually. And what I mean by that is like not going to networking events, not speaking on stages, not having a lot of in-person things. And so being able to do video, being able to get my message honed in, being able to do publicity has really been the fuel that has allowed my business to grow. So I share that with people to say that it can be done. And I actually think it's a smart way to scale your business and leverage your business. A lot of times, I was just meeting with one of my entrepreneur friends yesterday for breakfast, and they're like, well, in this area, people don't want to pay that much. And I'm like, go beyond this area. Like, there are people out there that want what you have to offer. And sometimes it takes you letting the limits go and not being attached to the story of, oh, I just have to charge $100 an hour because that's this area. Actually, you can work with people all over the world if you really just open up to integrating publicity. And so I've had to do that in the midst of, and this is kind of my message, like if I can do that while breastfeeding, I mean, my daughter was breastfed till 1, like my son, like while breastfeeding or being pregnant or being postpartum or in having a challenging birth the first time, you absolutely can too. And I think part of it is around self-care, but part of it is really around scaling and being willing to receive that work doesn't have to be so hard. Not to say that you are not going to have hard moments and tests that you have to pass, but if you really think about how to leverage your time and scale the one-on-one work, or scale just, doing an in-person event where you might meet a handful of people and exchange business cards, to actually doing a Facebook Live or doing a podcast interview or a radio interview, that's one way to get out of the burnt outness. That's a word.
Right.
And the overwhelmingness that can come with it is by actually thinking about how you can take one effort and really leverage it so that it can impact more people. And then having the right processes in place to really be able to measure your publicity efforts. So that might be, okay, I did a Facebook Live. What's happening on the back end to all the people that are interested or that comment, or what's happening after I do an interview to make sure that I take those people that heard me or saw me and really turn them into more book sales or more clients or more people at an actual event where you might be selling something that's, priced in a way that really is going to make a difference for you. So that's what I would say as far as overwhelm, is that if a mom can do it, like if I can do it, you absolutely can. And part of it is around using ways to scale your business and get your message out to more people, and then having a smart strategy on the back end to really turn that publicity into something that makes a difference for you and your business.
I love that. I love leverage in general because, yeah, it allows you to scale and to almost clone yourself if there was a cloning machine.
Yes.
Right?
That's exactly, I mean, I love that you say clone yourself. Like, I'm actually going to write that down and use that as like an email subject line, but clone yourself. So that's one of the things that media allows you to do. Every time you do an interview, and part of it is making sure that your message is on point. And often I work with people on what I like to call, and it's not even what I call, it's what the media industry calls sound bites, like having the prepared, like what are 3 points that you want to get across in this interview. When you have that dialed in well, and when you have your message really honed, you can go do a media interview, and that interview is going to work for you even if you're sleeping. Most times the agency will put it up on their website, or they'll post it on their Facebook page or on YouTube. And so people can still find what you're doing and who you are, even while you're on vacation. My family and I often take a year out of a month out of every year, and we go travel to Ghana, where my husband's family is from. And
Wow.
during that time, my business is still growing because, and I don't want to make it sound like it's just easy, but I do want you to really open the awareness to the fact that one video recorded like interview can pay dividends to you by you being able to use it, or people to be able to find it and watch it even after it's been done.
That's awesome. And yeah, I think that's a good point. It's not easy, but it's possible. And that seems like that's a really important message to share,
Yes,
right? There's a way.
yeah. Yeah.
Great. Is there anything else you'd like to share with ladies today in terms of, let's maybe a little bit about the self-care aspect of running a business so that they can get out of that overwhelm?
So I love that your whole thing is like peace and wine, because I am an avid wine drinker.
Let me make a note of that.
Yes, I like the sangria. There's this like super fruit sangria that I drink. It's like an organic one that they sell in like normal stores. And I love like just getting a glass of that. But one of the things I had to learn early on was the self-care aspect. And part of the reason was because I was always like pregnant, basically. And I also worked for fire and rescue. I was the spokeswoman for that agency.
Oh,
And so
wow.
that 24/7
Stress.
operation, and it wasn't like all great stories. It was like someone's house just burned down, we need you at 3 a.m. on site to talk to the
Oh,
media. And so that is kind of was my reality. And what I learned was, of course, having support. So having a team that can support you. Most times people think that having support, like I can't get support until I'm making a certain amount. And I actually believe the opposite. I believe you hire support so that you can scale and make a certain amount. And that's part of what happens with you being able to even get featured in a place like Oprah. Is, let's say tomorrow Oprah does call you, or let's say the Today Show calls you. I had a client that she's a breast cancer survivor and she's passionate about that. And the Today Show called her right after I got back from an event. She's like, oh my God, they called, I'm going to be on, they're filming me. And when that happens though, you're going to get a response unlike your business has ever gotten before.
right.
And so do you want to get that kind of response and not have someone who can even answer the influx that's going to come? Or do you want to already have someone, even if they're working for you 5 or 10 hours a month, that at
Mm-hmm.
least knows where to send someone or like to help you in that time? And so part of it's having support. And I believe even if your business, I hired my first assistant for my actual first summit 3.5 years ago for 10 hours just to help me with the last part of it. And from there scaled up. And so you want to be having the right support, but I'm also a holistic wellness care junkie. So I actually recommend all of my clients and just people even watching this interview to have a non-negotiable date with yourself once
Yes.
a week. You're doing some kind of self-care. So I have it Fridays. I call it my self-care Fridays. It's a 2-hour time window with me. When I was pregnant, I got in the habit of pre-scheduling my self-care like months in advance, like 6 months out, meaning that like my massage therapist was once a month, my chiropractor was once a month, my walk in the park was once a month, like, my time with my girlfriends was once a month, but I like scheduled it out. And then that way it wasn't like, oh, well, if I happen to do it, I'll do it. It was a regular occurring or reoccurring appointment with me. And that really helped me to be grounded. And often people ask me like, how are you so like grounded and calm? But that's what it helped me do, was really get to a place of being able to, in the midst of going to go at 3 a.m. and report on deaths, like staying grounded and not losing my head and not losing my calm. And so that's really important. And I feel like it's like at the base like of any successful business. And most people say like, when can I find time to do it? How can I afford time to do it? I feel like you cannot afford time not to do it if you want to really
Amen.
create, not just a business, but like a legacy, a lifestyle that you really want to enjoy.
Right. Not just a business, but a business that you love and don't resent, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that is a great tip to pre-schedule it, and it's something that I've been working on, and it's something that I keep promoting because yeah, self-care is going to be the first thing to go when it's the thing you need
Exactly.
most, right?
I just want to speak into like people that are like they can't afford it. Like just start with what's called micro experiences. So before I started going to see a massage therapist like once a month, I would just take time and massage my foot myself.
Right.
Like take 30 minutes and just like massage, you know, put some music on and just massage your hand or massage your foot or
Like,
get like a warmer thing. I mean, like start with micro experiences. One of my colleagues, she helps people with manifestation, and she was like, even if you can't afford a 3-course meal at a fancy restaurant, go and just have dessert. Like start with just dessert, you
that's a
know?
great idea.
And that's gonna like build up your muscle for having those experiences, and it's only gonna increase over time.
I love it. And you know, by the time, even if you do go to those fancy restaurants, you're usually too full for dessert by the time it gets there anyway. So you might as well just go for dessert.
Yeah, just go for dessert. Start there. That's a challenge. If you're like Jackie, if you're like me, you're like, I have 2 kids, they're in Montessori, like where do I find money in the budget to go get a massage monthly? Like just start with a micro experience.
Right. And even, you know, let's say you want to have somebody else give you that treatment. There's ways
Mhm.
to do it on a budget. It may not be your 100% ideal perfect, but you can go get, you know, a $30 reflexology thing or go get even a
Yes. A
$25
Groupon or
pedicure.
something.
What?
Yeah. A Groupon, like
Yeah,
a, you know,
right.
a special. So yeah, that's what I would recommend for those people that are like, I'm too burnt out. And yeah, it's just one of those things that you really have to decide what is the value for it. And I even talk about this when it comes to investing in your business. Like, what is the ROI of you getting a massage and feeling great in your body? It's not just the $100 you're going to spend on the massage. It's going to make you better at what you're doing. It's going to make you more effective. It's going to make you happier to be around. I mean, like there's so many other benefits that are the ROI to that initial investment.
Right. I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much for sharing today, Jackie. I really appreciate it. I had fun. And where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you do?
Yeah, so one of the gifts that we're giving is a process that I created called Get on National TV Now. And so it is a fill in the blank template that takes you through who you need to be contacting, what you need to send them, how you want to follow up with them. And I find that if you have that, it's going to make you a lot more effective in navigating that process. And I would just say, just for shits and giggles, I hope I can curse on this,
Sure.
but just shits and giggles, just send an email out to a media outlet, and that's going to get you a lot more in the habit of doing it so that when you really do want to, you already have some success. I always tell people, does it make a difference if you're going to get on Oprah now or 2 years from now? Like at the end of the day, it's like you just are happy you got on there. So start exercising that muscle now with like podcasts or blogs or radio or the local news that's in your area. And then as you start to grow your business and grow your comfortability, it's going to make you that much more ready when you do get those big national media outlets that are calling.
That's awesome. I think that'll be very helpful. And now is your contact information on there? So if people are like, this is great, but I feel like I need more guidance.
Yeah, and I'm happy to connect with them. And, I do a publicity momentum session that's complimentary that we can actually talk about what your specific goals are and create a customized strategy. So that's what I would recommend. And that fill in the blank template is a great place for people to start who are, having questions or want to know more. Just feel like they have a vision that they want to really get out there globally.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been so fun, and I look forward to continuing to connect. So thank you.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.